Let's talk about Centro.
Sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about the company and what you do there?
Sure. Company was founded in 2001 by Sean Weisler, and it's had a consistent vision since its inception, which was to make digital media easier. Back in the day, the company was very focused on the mission of making local digital media buys much simpler, because if you think about the challenge of, okay, I have a certain number of ad units times a certain number of publishers times a certain number of markets, suddenly the workload and workflow of managing that entire process was completely overwhelming. And Centro started out with a vision to automate that on behalf of its agency partners. And here we are 15 years later, still working on fulfilling that vision, which it's almost kind of sad slash scary slash exciting to think about. The market is finally ready for, I think, what Centro is bringing, which is a single sign-on platform that is intended to manage the entire process of a digital media campaign, from strategy, pre-plan, buy, traffic, optimize, all the way through to financial reconciliation. And that's across all facets of digital, whether it's display or mobile, whether it's banners or video, search or social, but to put that all in one place. Also, no matter how those impressions are bought, whether they're on a bidded basis, so the programmatic space, or bought on a guaranteed reserved basis.
So you mentioned ad tech. Can you define that for me?
Sure. Well, there's some very famous graphics that do it. The Lumascape is one of them, and it's famously or infamously basically a collection of logos that and core companies, I should say, that are looking at that life cycle that I talked about from the demand side. So think I'm a brand with a message. I need my agency to help with both the creative and the media. And then in digital, there are the slew of technology partners that are required today to make it all the way from the publisher selling its impressions, right? Those are things like targeting or ad networks or dynamic creative optimization, sales, DSPs, SSPs, lots of almost in some cases like single features became entire companies. And that's when people talk about ad tech and the confusing nature of it, that's what they mean. There are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of companies that make up this landscape, which is all about helping a brand take a message and reach its consumers in a digital ecosystem. It's actually quite confounding that if you were to believe the ecosystem, the number of players that it takes to make a simple buy happen or make a simple buy effective.
So that being said, do you think that in the near future there might be more of a standardization or a fallout or
Absolutely.
some kind of simplicity against this?
Yes, absolutely. Brands lament this cluttered, noisy, crowded, confusing space. It's really just impossible to navigate, and it's happened over the last 2, maybe even 3 years. There's been a tremendous amount of consolidation. The pace is only going to pick up, where you see some of the larger platform players, or even folks like Centro, who are driving some of this consolidation and acquiring different component pieces. The end game is truly, and there is a race on right now for firms who are trying to build that single sign-on platform that can manage the entire digital ecosystem. If you think about it from a brand's perspective, it's horribly inefficient. You've got spend happening in silos with no way to tune the dial effectively between the different channels or the different partners. There's no unified view of what's happening in a digital ecosystem, like or on a digital campaign. And I think marketers have had enough, and they're ready for agencies as well. They're ready for a simpler and more effective solution that can drive greater efficiency and greater efficacy on the back end, and that won't happen until you can get that holistic view of what's happening with all your ad spend.
What is Centro doing to prepare for this future?
Sure. Well, our vision is to build that single sign-on platform that manages the entire landscape of the entire life cycle of a digital media buy, from inception, plan, buy, traffic, optimize, all the way through financial reconciliation, and to give better intelligence at every stage of the campaign, what's working, what's not, which partners, to automate that and make it much more easy to execute, to manage, and then to optimize. And that's truly the touchdown play in ad tech, is the firm that not only gets there first, but gets there best with the best, easiest to use platform that gains traction and adoptions from brands and agencies.